On today's program, the best motorcycle road racers in Canada come to Autodrome St-Eustache, presented by Chinois Delicatessen and Steakhouse, serving you since 1936. It's time for the Castrol Canadian Motorcycle Association ASM 94 National Superbike Championship. Welcome to another edition of Racing at Autodrome St-Eustache. I'm Brian Mulligan, and a pleasure to be with you. Today we're going to be covering the second-to-last leg in the Castrol National Superbike Championship. And joining us right now is the promoter here at Autodrome St-Eustache for the Superbikes, Alain Labrusse. Alain, first of all, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, Brian.
You know, this is a very important series, Alain, and maybe you could tell us a little more about it.
Well, pretty well in Canada, it is considered as the most important series. It is the Canadian National Championship. The motorcycle importers support the riders, and everybody here is trying to win the championship and become the overall Canadian champion.
We've got a lot of very important racers here today. Maybe you could let us know a few guys we should be watching for.
Well, in the Pro Superbike feature field, you have riders such as Michael Taylor from Toronto, who's supported by Kawasaki Canada. You have Don Monroe from Halifax. He's riding the same material, again, with Kawasaki. You have riders such as Benoit Pilon from here in Quebec. He's supported by Yamaha. Then there's Lindley Clark, Marco Ferlin, a local favorite, supported by Honda Canada. So all the top guns are here.
Well, you know, we're going to talk to Don Monroe a little later in the program, and I'm sure he's thinking about the track conditions. We've had rain on and off here, but now as we go to the finals of the afternoon, it's certainly important to maybe explain to the people how this changes it for the drivers.
Well, not like stock car races, I guess, you know, or dirt track or whatever it is. These motorcycle riders are accustomed to riding in wet or dry conditions. The conditions are totally different. They make a lot of adjustments accordingly. But whether it's sunny and nice, they're going for it, and whether it's wet and soggy, they're doing the same thing.
Well, it's certainly going to be exciting for the fans, so let's get to the racing. First class to go in the final here as we get underway is the Pro 600 Super Sport. Tim Sampson, Mario Fairlawn, Don Monroe, and Michael Taylor on the front row. A great start by Don Monroe of Halifax, Nova Scotia, as he leads the veteran Michael Taylor as they go into the first couple of turns. Taylor will be very tough as he is a veteran and will work on the young Monroe. I'd like to welcome Brian Herbert here to the show as he'll be our color man, former road racer himself.
We've got Michael Taylor following right up behind Don Monroe, and he knows what to do on a racetrack.
As they go down the back chute, he shows his stuff and powers by and takes over the lead as they head into the oval area. So the veteran Taylor is now the leader, followed by Don Monroe, the two of them on a Kawasaki. Monroe is the points leader. He holds down second. Third is now Mario Fairlawn on a Honda.
We've got Ale KC following up behind Jeff Williams, another local rider on the Carryall Honda.
Maybe you can tell us a little more about Marco Fairlawn as well, Brian.
Well, Marco, this is his second year pro, and he's shown us a lot of really good rides. Very, very aggressive rider and doesn't give away a place to anybody.
We see a lot of Kawasaki's and Hondas here. Is that where the battle shapes up?
That's just about it. The new Yamahas have had a bit more trouble this year in 600.
So as we move a little farther ahead in the race, Williams is moved into third. That's young Jeff Williams, the rookie on a Honda. He's the number 85, and he's become quite a contender out there, as well as Alain KC. But the leader is the veteran Michael Taylor on the Kawasaki, and well back, but defending second place very well as we see him now is the 32 of Don Monroe. He, as we said earlier, is the points leader and also on a Kawasaki.
It's a great battle for second right now. As 4 or 5 riders have a good chance at it.
Looking back a little farther, we also see Sean Murray on a Honda. He's the number 14. And very much in contention, as well as the 117 the Honda of Timmy Sampson. Tim, who's holding down second place in the points going into this race.
As you can see, the track is still quite wet, and these guys are all on street-legal DOT tires, so they're sliding around quite a bit out there.
Well, that was kind of the story of the whole weekend as they went back and forth from wet conditions to dry conditions. And this certainly makes it difficult for these guys out there.
And as you can see, it's also very, very windy, so it plays a big role in drafting down the straightaways and everything.
So drafting is a concern then in motorcycle racing as well.
It's very, very important in motorcycle racing. A motorcycle has to create a fairly large hole to go through, and if you're following, you catch a guy in a hurry.
You see the guy holding down third now is young Tim Sampson on the Honda.
Timmy's also a guy from the Maritimes, so he knows how to ride in the wet. They have a bit more experience than us guys from central Canada.
Yes, the last race there was at Atlantic Motorsport Park at Shubenacadie, and so he was right at home, as was Monroe. But still leading the way, Mike Taylor, the veteran. He's on his final lap. They come down through the Stock Car Oval. Monroe, as we said, still holding down second. Third is Sampson. The checkers go to Mike Taylor on the Kawasaki. And as we look at the result board, second place was Don Monroe, also on a Kawasaki, followed by Tim Sampson and Jeff Williams. Looking at the points board, Don Monroe is still your points leader. Second place with 117 points is Tim Sampson. And young Alain Kessy is certainly doing well as he's now third in the points. Marco Ferlin is fourth. Michael Taylor holds down sixth with this win.
Alain Kessy, for a rookie, that's just been a great season for him so far.
We're back at Autodrome St-Eustache, and we can see that the winds are certainly pushing the trees around, and it's very difficult for the racers as well as we go to the amateur 750 Super Sports. On the front row, Stefan Lokov, Terrebonne on a Kawasaki, the 7 of Rodney Hall of Peterborough on a Honda, and another Honda, Dave Fraser of Bedford, Nova Scotia. Lokov leads the way into turn 1.
Stefan Lokov just got another super start. He's been doing that all year consistently and right to the front right away.
Patrice Belanger of Ville d'Anjou on a Suzuki also in contention with the number 2. We also see the 155 is Chris Tilbury from Ontario, London, Ontario on a Kawasaki. But Stefan Lokov charges to the lead and certainly shows his stuff here.
You can see him sliding a little bit on there. His tires are still fairly cold, and these guys are also on street legal tires in the rain.
The second place belongs to Dave Fraser on a Honda. He's from Nova Scotia, as we said. And third is Patrice Belanger of Ville d'Anjou on a Suzuki.
Lokov's opening up a good lead now over Dave Fraser and Patrice.
A couple more fellows that are in contention. The 7 of Rodney Hall of Peterborough. He's on a Honda. Then there's Guy Bailey of Mascouche. And this young man has really come along, hasn't he, Brian?
Yeah, he's rode really well the last few weeks. They've had trouble sorting out the Yamaha YZF 600 at the beginning of the year, but he's come on real well since the last couple of races.
And he runs on a 600 Yamaha, and this is a 750 class. So watch for the 919 of Guy Bailey from Mascouche, Quebec.
We just saw Patrice Belanger make a mistake and go wide going into the infield.
Back to the leader, Lokov. Stefan Lokov of Terrebonne is the leader here. Also a young lady, the 778 of Nathalie Plante of Laval. It must be an exception to have young ladies in this type of competition.
Well, she's the only one we have here this year so far, and she's an all-around real nice girl, and she pushes real hard when she's out on the racetrack.
Stefan Lokov. leads the way through the stock car oval as they come around to take the flag. It'll be the blue and white flag, and it's the final lap. Loka coming up to lap a few of the slower machines here.
He's got a huge lead now. He should just take it easy and he'll win the race, no problem.
Loka very smooth as he works on the back markers. He knows it's the last lap and is being very careful in case maybe one of the slower guys would make a mistake directly in front of him.
As you can see, the track is still wet in spots and they have to try and find the dry line, and sometimes that dry line is real small.
Loka coming around to complete it now. Only a couple of turns away as he heads for the checkers. And the win going to Stefan Loka of Terrebonne, Quebec on the Kawasaki. Second place, young Guy Bailey on that 600 Yamaha surprises everyone. Mike Demarez third. Jean-Francois Cyr is fourth. Looking at the points board for the Amateur 750 Supersport, Stefan Loka, strong lead in the points. J.F. Cyr right up there in second. Alain Bro, Dave Fraser, and Paul Penzo rounded out. This young Cyr racer is certainly a good one to watch.
Yeah, this is his second full season. He's just great. He's fantastic.
We're moving now to the Amateur Superbike class. Up on the front row, Stéphane Ouellette of Beloy on a Honda. Dave Fraser, Bedford, Nova Scotia on a Honda. Stefan Loka is back again from Terrebonne. He's the points leader and started third. And Frank DiNardo of Ottawa completed that front row. The early leader is Dave Fraser of Bedford, Nova Scotia on the Honda, as 30 riders charge into the early part of this race.
Well, Stefan Loka got into a huge wheelie off the start, and he's back in about 15th place right now. I think the whole second and third line even passed him.
As we work down the back chute, we see that Dave Fraser of Bedford, Nova Scotia, just kind of bobbled a little in the water there, but he certainly got a strong lead early in this event. Now second is the 88 of Frank DiNardo of Ottawa on a Honda, then Stéphane Ouellette of Beloy on a Honda, the 2 of Patrice Belanger of Ville d'Anjou, he's on a Suzuki and running fourth.
We can see that Loka is already up to about 6th place. He's just charging up through the field.
Loka desperately needs to catch up here. And he went a little too strong as he loses it, coming through the corner and slides across the grass. So Stefan Loka, doing anything to catch the leaders after a bad start, has now crashed.
That's really a shame for Stefan because he was leading the points going into this race.
Well, as you said, that wheelie at the start, Brian, certainly was costly, and he knew he had to make up that time, so he had to gamble even though the track conditions are not perfect.
Yeah, I've never seen Stefan take a start like that. I don't know what happened to him. Just a little bit too much gas, and he almost went over the top.
We just saw a short while ago that he was up and looked like he wanted to get back in there, so he's A-okay when it comes to the physical side. But certainly the morale's a little bit damaged there. Moving ahead in the race, Ouellette is your leader. Stéphane Ouellette from Beloy, Quebec on the Honda, followed by Frank DiNardo. Third place belongs to Dave Fraser, and fourth is Patrice Belanger. This young man certainly does well on a Suzuki out of Ville d'Anjou.
Ouellette is riding a 900 in this race, and that's a handful on a wet track, that's for sure.
Here's your leader, the 29 of Ouellette. He's out of shape and crashes. The leader has crashed. Ouellette rolling to the infield area. Looks like he's very shaken up as the bike has landed much farther down. The officials quickly getting over there to see if he's okay. He's definitely shaken up and has got problems here. Officials moving in to find out exactly what the problem is as we go to the break, and the race has been red flagged here. We're back at the Autodrome for a restart after the race is red flagged. Going off the front row will be Frank Donardo on the 88, the 89 of Dave Fraser, and the 2 of Patrice Belanger. A great start by Dave Fraser as he takes the lead. Also moving up is the 21 of Paul Penzo.
Penzo is a real smooth and real aggressive rain rider.
The guy that lost out on this one was Frank Donardo, who fell back to 5th. And a young fellow that we'll have to keep an eye for is the 666, Jamie McIntosh, as he has moved up through the pack and is now challenging the leaders. Coming onto the straightaway, Paul Penzo pulls alongside Dave Fraser, and Penzo takes the lead, going into the stock car oval and then crashes and finds himself in the air fence here.
Now that's too bad for Paul. That's really bad.
We also see the 6 of Peter Lucchesi, who had moved up among the leaders but was later disqualified. We see Penzo here, definitely heavily shaken, but that air fence is a very important piece of safety equipment, Brian.
Yeah, those air fences, we have 2 of them. They're worth about $4,000 or $5,000 a piece, and they're much, much better than hay bales for slowing a rider and a bike down.
There's no value on something that can save a life or can save serious injury. We have moved ahead in the race now. And young Jamie McIntosh has become the new leader. We saw earlier when he quickly moved up among the leaders, and this young man has certainly become somewhat of a contender. He's from Williamsburg, Ontario, a little village in eastern Ontario of a few hundred people, but he certainly has done the job on the tour as one of the top guys in the amateur ranks.
Well, he's had more success in Ontario than he has in Quebec, but he's having a good race so far.
So the win going to Jamie McIntosh, followed by Dave Fraser, Patrice Belanger an excellent third, Frank Donardo and Jean-Francois Cyr round out the top 5. Looking at the point standings, Dave Fraser of Bedford, Nova Scotia is now the leader. Donardo has moved into 2nd place. Stefan Loka, even though he had a tough race, is still 3rd. Paul Penzo is 4th, and Jamie McIntosh with this win moves into the top 5. We go now to the final in the most important class of all, the Castrol Pro Superbike class. And off the pole is Martin Gaudreau of Longueuil on his Monet Sport Kawasaki. Alongside of him is Don Monroe, Jeff Sneed, and Marco Ferlin on a Honda.
Martin Gaudreau is on a super sport bike against all these super bikes out there. He was praying for rain that morning.
Being he's underpowered, in other words, Brian, he would much rather have slippery track conditions.
That's right. The slippery track just equalizes the horsepower factor for everybody.
And we see that on the back straightaway as Don Monroe quickly moved by, and Gaudreau could do not much about it because he was underpowered. But he certainly did a great job on the start and looks to stay in contention. Don Monroe, who is 3rd in the points coming into this event, is still the leader.
Yeah, Don won the last race down in Halifax too, quite convincingly on his home track.
Monroe running on a Kawasaki. Young Jeff Sneed of Mississauga in contention, as is Marco Ferlin, a 30 on a Honda. But the 26 of Lindley Clark of Barrie, the veteran on a Yamaha, is quickly moving up to 2nd place.
Martin Gaudreau is doing all he can to hold on to 2nd right now. I don't know if he can for very long.
Out on the outside, you see Lindley make his move and take over that 2nd spot as they come down the end of the straightaway.
And Martin lost 2 places just now, but he's just underpowered and he's really working hard to stay there.
As Monroe leads them through, coming back to the start-finish line once again, the veteran Lindley Clark is 2nd on a Yamaha, the number 26.
You can see how strong the wind is blowing now too, and it's really playing around with these guys on the end of the straightaway when they're trying to draft each other.
Monroe picks the wheels as he comes through the S's, and Lindley has closed the gap somewhat, but Monroe seems to be very safely in 1st place. It's time to take a break at Autodrome St-Eustache. We'll be back with the final laps of the Castrol Superbike Final. We're back at Autodrome St-Eustache for the final laps in the Castrol Superbike final. Don Munro of Halifax, Nova Scotia, the leader on the number 32 Kawasaki. The veteran, number 26, Lindley Clark on the Yamaha, holds down second. Third is the 15 of another veteran on a Kawasaki, Mike Taylor. Then in fourth place, the number 2, Benoit Pilon of Saint-Jérôme, and fifth is the 101 of Martin Gaudreau.
Martin earlier today won the 750 Supersport race in convincing fashion over Michael Taylor. He just had a fantastic season for a rookie. Ben Pilon is on the Monetspar Yamaha also, sponsored by Paquin Livraison Rapide. He's a veteran. He's been around for a long, long time.
So Pilon of Saint-Jérôme holding down fourth, but Don Munro is your leader. This young man having a very successful day in picking that front wheel and waving at you once again. Close behind the Yamaha, Clark, as we see, the number 26. Looking to close the gap with him is the 15, Mike Taylor on the Kawasaki, the factory rider from Mississauga.
Lindley Clark down at Shubenacadie, he had a pretty disastrous weekend. He had motor troubles and all kinds of troubles all weekend long.
So Don Munro looking for the win here.
Munro, that would make his second win in a row if he can win it today.
Very confident young man, and puts a lot of strength in what his mechanics decide as well. As we were over visiting his pit area earlier in the day, and they certainly put a lot of time in. They were making very, very serious decisions about what they had to change if the track was going to be wet or be dry. And they spoke of changes in gears, changes in tires, and a number of changes in suspension as well. But obviously they have made the right choices, and Don Munro leads the way. He comes by now and will take the blue and white flag. 1 lap remaining, as things have tightened up in second and third, as Mike Taylor is looking to reel in Lindley Clark and make it a 1-2 Kawasaki finish. We'll see as they're on the final lap.
Well, Michael Taylor's also trying to ride fairly conservatively because he wants the championship before anything else, I think.
Yes, Taylor, of course, protecting his lead in the points, and that is very important. Coming back through the Stock Car Oval once again here. As they head, they'll come off of turn 4 of the Stock Car Oval to come up to the finish line. Don Munro making that final turn through the Stock Car. He's in turn 4 now and heads for the checkered flag. And another win, 2 in a row on the series for Don Munro, a very happy young man from Halifax, Nova Scotia. And he is followed by Lindley Clark on the Yamaha, Mike Taylor on a Kawasaki, then Benoit Pilon, an excellent run on his Yamaha, and rounding out the top 5 and underpowered was the 101 of Martin Gaudreau. Looking at the points, Michael Taylor still holds the lead, but only 2 points ahead of Don Munro now as they head for Alma for the final race in the streets of the city of Alma. Third in the points, Benoit Pilon with 116. Then a little farther back is Lindley Clark. We go to the podium and we see the top 3. Don Munro standing on the highest step. Lindley Clark for second, and third to Taylor.
It'll be a champagne shower to go along with the rain showers.
We look forward to the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th of September. That's this weekend, this afternoon at Autodrome St-Eustache is the first ever Auto Expo weekend with all kinds of race cars, show cars, antiques, and hot rods. And remember, the Skoll Incorporated 250-lap finals on the stock car track next week. And next Sunday at 11 o'clock will be CFCF 12. We'll be back with racing at Autodrome St-Eustache. All communication needs for our show are provided by the fine people at CTM Location in St. Leonard, Quebec. We'll see you all next week for a full program of stock car racing, plus highlights from this afternoon's car show. Brian Mulligan thanking Brian Herbert for all his fine work. And Brian, we look forward to having you with us again.
Oh, thank you very much, Brian. It was my pleasure.